been paying for an Envato subscription for about 3 to 4 years now, and so clearly I find it useful. But will you? Is an Envato Elements subscription worth it for your freelance video editing needs? Let's do a little deep dive to find out. Envato Elements is a subscription-based service that provides unlimited access to a large library of digital assets for creative projects. These assets include stock videos, images, music, sound effects, website themes, templates, graphic designs, fonts, and more. It is especially popular among video editors, as well as web designers and creative professionals because of the wide variety of media it offers. Now, unlike paid per download platforms, Envato Elements allows users to download as many assets as they want for a flat monthly or yearly fee. It's highly valued for its comprehensive selection of resources, including premium templates for Adobe Premiere Pro, After Effects, and Final Cut Pro, making it an ideal tool for freelance video editors and content creators. Let's talk about the prices. Let's get that out of the way. Individual plans start at $16.50 a month, and team plans start at $29 a month, depending on how many members you'll need to cover. If we haven't met yet, I am Colleen, and in this channel, I help you to get a video editing job and to get paid doing what you love. So for more tips on that, be sure to hit subscribe with the bell so you don't miss a thing. Now, let's get into these pros and cons of Envato Elements. I think that's what we're all here to really talk about, because is it worth paying for? First, let's talk about the pros. Unlimited downloads. Again, you can download unlimited videos, music, sound effects, templates, what have you, for that monthly fee. Of course, this is perfect if you have long-term clients where you'll need to be coming back to Envato Elements again and again and again. Wide range of assets. And let me just go through to show you all of the categories that you have access to. It truly is a one-stop shop for everything you will need for your video projects. Affordability. Again, if you are looking for a long-term solution, if you know you're going to be downloading a lot of assets or you need access to a lot of things, it definitely is more affordable compared to some websites which have more of a pay per download model. Royalty-free video. All the videos on Envato Elements are royalty-free, so you can use them in both personal and commercial projects without any fear of licensing issues. Time saving. If you are someone who works in After Effects a lot or in general does a lot of motion graphics, it may be very helpful and time saving for you to access some of the templates that Envato has. They have a ton of ready-made templates for you depending on whatever software you are using that will save you a lot of time in your editing. Okay, now let's get into some cons. No a la carte options. Again, a subscription model like this is best if you know you're going to be using Envato Elements for the long term. If you only need a few assets and that's it, it's not going to be as cost effective for you. You may be better off finding a more pay per download model somewhere else. Licensing per project. Technically, on Envato Elements, you do need to relicense assets for every new project that you use it for. And that can be kind of inconvenient for long-term projects. So every time you download an asset on Envato Elements, it asks you what you're using that asset for, which project, and then you can download it. And that's going to give you a specific license for that particular project. Now that's great for if you need backup, if you run into some sort of issue on YouTube or what have you, you have that license. But if you need to use it again for a different project, you're going to need to make sure that you allocate that to a different project. I have run into situations in the past where this could end up being kind of a headache if you're not organized enough, or if you download a ton of assets and then you have to go back because you realize that you uploaded something late to YouTube and YouTube marked one of the music tracks as a copyright issue, and now you need to go back and appeal it. You need to have that licensing, and you need to make sure that you remember where you put it, make sure you put it in the right project, and then even so, you may need to go back way back whenever you first downloaded it to get that correct licensing for it. So it definitely can be kind of a headache. Quality variability. While there are a ton of great assets on Envato, both in their music, their sound effects, their footage, their templates, there definitely are some lower quality items on there that you need to be on the lookout for. You may need to spend a little extra time sorting through that to find the best assets for your project. No market exclusivity. Unlike Unlike Envato's other platform, Video Hive, Envato Elements assets are non-exclusive, meaning that they can be widely used by others, which might reduce the uniqueness of your content. And that is something that you kind of just need to accept whenever you're using any of these popular platforms, that you may be downloading footage that millions of other people are downloading, and your projects are going to look similar to other people's because you're using the same stock footage. So something to keep in mind. And a great reason to get creative with these assets so that you are not just solely relying on the assets to tell your story, but you're using them as just a piece of a bigger whole for your project. So it adds just a little bit more uniqueness, even though you are relying on stock footage and general stock assets. Licensing limitations. If you are working on certain types of projects, you might need additional permissions or licenses from Envato. This is particularly pertinent for music and is a challenge that I have run into on there. Sometimes on Envato, the different music tracks have different licenses, and depending on which one you choose and download, it may require more backup. If you're trying to avoid this, what I would suggest is whenever you are searching for music on Envato and you want to not have any issues on YouTube or whatever, I would make sure to go to the filter, and I would make sure to exclude those additional licensing tracks to make sure that you are free in the clear, not going to run into any issues. Because even though Envato offers a ton of music, it doesn't come without those licensing issues potentially. So personally for me, I just try to avoid it altogether and just filter those out. If you do decide to use them, just know and understand that you're going to need to add an extra step of adding that licensing into either the description of your YouTube video, and you can dive a bit deeper into this on Envato to learn exactly the steps of what you'll need to do if you do decide to use a particular track that has a different licensing on it. Okay, let's get into my personal opinion. As much as I'd like to keep these videos unbiased, I, again, have been using Envato Elements for a long time now. I pay for a subscription, so it doesn't come without reason. So I'd like to give you my personal opinion of why I continue to pay for Envato, and also just what I've noticed on it and the complications that I've run into. One thing that I just said in the video is the complicated music library full of different kinds of licenses. Now, I do appreciate the wide range of music that Envato has. I do tend to still use Envato Elements, even just for like basic corporate ambient music that I need. Sometimes I do make sure to filter out those licenses, just because when you're dealing with client projects, and I know that it's not going onto my personal YouTube, it's going onto someone else's YouTube channel potentially, I would just rather not risk any potential copyright situation, just because it is such a big headache, and I've dealt with that before in the past. So I prefer to just filter out those licenses. So make sure that you do that if you don't want to run into a situation. If you don't mind running into that situation, or you have the means to be able to back it up, it's easy for you, maybe you run your client's YouTube channel, or it's for your own personal use, then maybe this won't apply to you and you won't have a problem with that. And I will note that even though I still do use some of the music from Envato, it is pretty outdated. It's not that great. It's pretty corporate-y, like I was saying. It serves its purpose. And honestly, given the strange new world that we're in with TikTok, I have honestly been hearing more stock-esque sounds being used on TikTok. So I'm like, wait, are we back in this again, where stock music is like okay now and not cringe? I don't know. It serves its purpose, but it's definitely not the most updated music that you could be using for your video projects. Something that is so worth paying for from Envato is definitely their sound effects. I think that their sound effects library is humongous, and I usually can find what I'm looking for on there. So that alone is definitely serves a big value to me as someone who just having a nice place to be able to find a sound effect without having to like search YouTube and then download it off of YouTube, which is such a big pain in the butt. So that serves a big purpose to me. I really appreciate that. They also have a very large motion graphic template library that is also really great. I used to use that all the time back in the day when I was doing a lot more motion graphics. Honestly, that's how I learned After Effects, was knowing that I needed to learn it, knowing that I had access to Envato Elements, downloading those After Effects templates, opening them up, and then just looking at how was this effect made, looking at the keyframes, looking at all of the different layers, like Like that helped me so much. And I continue to recommend that to anybody who's trying to learn After Effects. It's a great way to learn it if you do have access to Envato Elements or any platform site that has those templates on it. I think that's really helpful because it's an already pre-made graphic. And so you can see the graphic, but you can also see how the inner workings of it were made to create that graphic, which I think is really helpful. So yeah, really great library of templates and continuously updated, which is really helpful. More and more and more and more. I'm seeing a lot more Mogurt templates, which can be helpful. I don't use a ton of motion graphics in general, but when I do, it definitely can be more helpful simply because I don't always use After Effects. So it's nice to just be able to pop them in Premiere Pro whenever I need them. That part of Envato Elements is great. The stock footage leaves a lot to be desired. There is a huge lack of diversity, both in the people that are in the videos and also just the general production of the videos. You can tell that they are just outdated and they were made maybe 10 plus years ago when stock footage was a little bit more overly polished, like they were shot in a studio. There's definitely some that I still find, and if I am looking for something specific, I'll of course check Envato Elements because I pay for it, but it definitely is not my first choice of somewhere to find stock footage because it just continually disappoints me. So I wish that they would perfect that, but for everything else that Envato offers, I think that it is definitely still worth me paying for, as at least for now. Even if I'm not using the stock footage area. The fonts actually can also be really helpful if you are doing a lot of graphic work or just in general. If that pertains to you, I will just note that I have used the font section of Envato Elements many a time and I find it really good. Great. I think that there's a huge library of it, and that is also definitely worth paying for as well. I think in general, the fact that they offer a little bit of everything makes them a great starting platform for video editors. So if you are a beginner video editor and you've got nothing to edit with, or maybe you know that you're going to need some assets to maybe accompany your first client's videos, Envato Elements is an amazing place to start because again, they have a little bit of everything. And I just think it's such a great, well-rounded platform to get started with because you may find that, yeah, you need a little bit of everything whenever you're first getting started. So I would definitely recommend Envato Elements, understanding that it is limited. It's not the most updated platform. It's not the very best platform, but because it has a little bit of everything, you never know when you're going to need to be needing access to some of these things. So it's just a really nice thing to have. And for starting at $16.50 a month, it's not a bad option just to get you started as a video editor. Now that you have a better idea of what Envato Elements has to offer, is it right for you? Do you think you'll be paying for it? Or maybe it's a little bit too outdated. Maybe it's too much for what you think you might be needing. Either way, I would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave them in the comments below so we can chat about it. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more tips on video editing and freelance lifestyle. Thank you to my team. Again, I am Colleen and I will catch you guys in the next video. Have the best one.